Microsoft offers different operating system according to the machine's role, like if it is desktop or server. The desktop version of Windows has undergone various naming scheme, with the current version being, say, simply Windows 10. Newer versions of this operating system come out every 3 to 5 years and tend to be supported for many years. Backward compatibility is a priority for Microsoft, even going so far as to bundle virtual machine technology so that users can run older software. Windows servers currently is at version 2019 to denote the release date. The server can run a GUI, but recently Microsoft, largely as a competitive response to Linux, has made efforts in its command line scripting capabilities through PowerShell. Apple makes the Mac operating system, which is partially based on software from the free BSD project and has undergone Unix certification. Mac OS is well known for being easy to use and as such has continued to be favored by users with limited access to IT resources like schools and small businesses. It is also very popular with programmers due to its robust Unix underpinnings. On the server side, macOS Server is primarily aimed at smaller organizations. This low-cost addition to macOS Desktop allows users to collaborate and administrators to control access to shared resources. It also provides integration with iOS devices, which is the operating system used by the iPhone and iPad. So some large corporate IT departments allows users to choose Mac OS since users often require less support than standard Microsoft productivity deployments. The continued popularity of Mac operating system has ensured healthy support from software vendors, and Mac OS is also quite popular in the creative industries such as graphic and video production. For many of these users, application choice drives the operating system decision, and Apple hardware being integrated so closely with the operating system and their instance on adherence to standards in uh, application programming gives these creative professionals a stable platform to perform many computing intense functions with fewer concerns about compatibility.
To be a Linux system administrator, it is necessary to be comfortable with Linux as a desktop operating system and have proficiency with basic information communication technology skills. Using Linux for productivity tasks rather than depending on Windows or Mac operating system, it accelerates learning by working with Linux tools on a daily basis. Systems administrators do far more than manage servers. They are often called upon to assist users with configuration issues or recommend new software and update documentation among other tasks. Most Linux distributions allows users to download a desktop installation package that can be loaded onto a USB key. This is one of the first things aspiring system administrators should do. Download a major distribution and load it into an old PC. This process is fairly straightforward and tutorials are available online. So the Linux desktop should be familiar to anyone who has used a PC or Mac with icons to select different programs and a setting application to configure things like user accounts or Wi-Fi networks and input devices. After familiarizing oneself with the Linux GUI or desktop, next step is learning how to perform tasks from the command line. I have here some distributions of Linux. Well, first is the Red Hat. It started as a simple distribution that introduced the Red Hat Package Manager, and the developer eventually formed a company around it, which tried to commercialize a Linux desktop for business. Red Hat focused more on server applications, such as web and file serving, and they released the Red Hat Enterprise Linux, which was a paid service on a long release cycle. The release cycle dictates how often software is upgraded, and a business may value stability and want long release cycles, while a hobbyist or a startup may want the latest software and opt for a shorter release cycle. To satisfy the latter group, Red Hat sponsors the Fedora project. These are for the hobbyists. This makes a personal desktop comprising the latest software, but is still built on the same foundation as the enterprise version. Because everything in Red Hat Enterprise Linux is open source, a project called CentOS came to be. It recompiled all the Red Hat Enterprise Linux packages. This means converting their source code from the programming language they were written into a language usable by the system. And they gave them away for free. Cent operating systems and others like it are largely compatible with Red Hat Enterprise Linux and integrate some newer software, but do not offer the paid support that Red Hat does. Next in the Linux distribution is the SUSE, one of the most comprehensive Linux distribution. It has many similarities to Red Hat Enterprise Linux. The original company was purchased by Novell in 2003, which was purchased by the Attachmate Group in 2011, and the Attachmate Group then merged with Micro Focus International in 2014. And in 2018, SUSE announced plans to go forward as an independent business. SUSE Linux Enterprise contains um, proprietary code and is sold as a server product, and OpenSUSE is completely open, free version with multiple desktop packages. Then we also have a Debian. This is more of a community effort and as such, also promote the use of open source software and adherence to standards. Debian came up with its own package management system based on the .deb file format, while Red Hat leaves non-Intel and AMD platform support to derivative projects. Debian supports many of these platforms directly. Ubuntu is the most popular Debian-derived distribution. It is the creation of Canonical, um, and this is a company that was made to further the growth of Ubuntu and makes money by providing support. Ubuntu has several variants for desktop, for servers, and various specialized applications. And then the Android, which I think you're familiar with, also again, so like Android is also based in Linux. The Android operating system was first developed by Android Inc., but Android mobile operating system was developed by Google to be primarily used for touchscreen devices, cell phones, and tablets. Its design lets users manipulate the mobile devices intuitively with finger movements that mirror common motions such as pinching, swiping, and tapping. Google also employs Android software in televisions, in cars, or even in wristwatches, each of which is fitted with a unique user interface, and the Android source code is released in an open source format to help advance operating standards across mobile devices. However, despite being released as open, Android is still packaged with proprietary software when sold on handset devices. Other Linux distributions include Raspbian. This is a specialized Linux distribution optimized to run on Raspberry Pi hardware. This was used in training for programmers and hardware designers at all levels. Its low cost and ease of use have made it a favorite of educators worldwide, and many add-on devices are available to extend its capabilities into the physical world. Another Linux distribution is the Linux from Scratch. It's more of a learning tool than a working distribution. This project consists of an online book, a source code, and a step-by-step instruction from building a custom Linux distribution from the source code up. And this ends the part 1 of this chapter. I'd like to thank you for listening. Keep safe, together we learn as one.